What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rumble Rewind. My name is Brandon, and I am back. I was out of town last week, took some time off to just do some traveling. It was a lot of fun, very tired. And so, honestly, today is going to be a little bit different. Instead of kind of doing a full raw recap from last night, figured I'd just kind of hit the high spots, the thing that stuck out to me and the things that, frankly, I want to talk about. Before we dive into that, do me a quick favor. Scroll down below this video, hit that like button, let me know that you missed me. That means a lot. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We're getting closer and closer to being able to do our giveaway. We'd love to get that in your hands as soon as possible. So if you are subscribed, maybe even share this video with somebody that you think would like it. And as we talk about these topics, make sure you leave some comments below. Let me know the things that you thought stood out to you and your overall thoughts on this episode of Monday Night Raw. So without further ado, though, let's dive into this week's episode of Raw. And the first thing that I would love to talk about is the Judgment Day. Everything going on there, especially as it relates to Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, Dominic Mysterio, the championship, all of these stories just kind of tangled in together. Now, this week was actually a pretty big week for the Judgment Day. We saw that their clubhouse was destroyed. Everybody's assuming it's Liv Morgan. It seems like it's Liv. I don't think that this is one of those situations where there's going to be some big swerve. And so they begin to kind of figure out what they're going to do leading into this match at Summerslam. And that's kind of the topic of the night in the many Judgment Day segments. But later in the evening, we got a promo from Liv where she is kind of doing the scorned lover kind of feel. She's crying. She's got the makeup running all over her face. She's burning photos of her and Dominic. She's standing in front of one of the production trucks that has Dominic's face on it. It was actually one of Liv Morgan's better promos that she's ever cut. And now all of a sudden, if I wasn't already invested in the story enough, all of a sudden it is kind of taken a leap forward. Because of that, I wonder, and I think Liv Morgan's walking out of SummerSlam with that championship. I don't think she's going to do it clean. I don't think she's going to beat Rhea in the middle of the ring without any outside interference. But I do think that she is going to walk out of SummerSlam with that championship because it seems like there's a lot more story to tell. Obviously, them getting in the ring for the first time at SummerSlam is going to be a milestone in the story. That's what it's all been leading up to, is this conflict, this showdown between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. I hope that this is the first of several in a longer drawn-out feud because, where does the story go from here? If Rhea wins and she leaves with the championship, the story is kind of over. But if Liv wins, especially in an underhanded way, there's more story to tell. There aren't any more top superstars on Raw right now that are ready to compete for that championship. So we need to extend this out a little longer. Liv winning is going to do that and continue to sow seeds of doubt in the Judgment Day and continue to move towards their ultimate implosion, or Rhea and Damian being kicked out and Liv taking over. I don't know where that's going. I would love to know your thoughts. Tell me what you think happens with the Judgment Day out of SummerSlam. But we're continuing to see seeds of some sort of fallout sown, especially as it relates to Damian and Finn Balor. This story is so interesting to me, and I don't think it ends on Saturday. All right, that's it for the Judgment Day, though. Let's move on to another really red-hot SummerSlam feud, and that is Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. Now, we know that Seth freaking Rollins is going to be the special guest referee, and last night on Raw, they actually opened the show together, beginning with Seth, who eventually invited Drew and Punk to the ring. Seth started out with some announcements saying that all of these were directly from Adam Pearce. No one was allowed to lay hands on each other. If anyone did, the match would be canceled. And so we actually got a very civilized sort of meeting between the three of them. At first, I thought the whole concept of Seth Rollins giving his official referee instructions was kind of interesting or weird, really. We've never seen that before. When's the last time you saw one of the referees in the ring saying, these are the rules of the match? Everybody knows the rules of the match. However, I think this made a whole lot of sense. It established that Seth is not partial in this because he hates both of these guys. He said disqualifications were at his discretion. Tapping out was at his discretion. All of these things are at Seth's discretion. And so basically, he can just stand aside and watch them destroy each other. That whole promo, though, ended really well with Drew and Punk in each other's faces. I don't know that it added a ton to the rivalry, because this thing is already at a fever pitch, at a 10 out of 10. I don't know that it needed this segment, but it made a lot of sense to kind of cement where Seth falls in all of it. What do you think, though? How is Seth going to be involved at SummerSlam? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I think if anything, he helps Drew win. But again, let me know what you think. All right, let's talk about a couple of the lesser known things, because as we head into SummerSlam, we've got some stories that are kind of winding down. Anytime you're heading into a big PLE, you have to assume that some stories are winding down, which means we have to start some new ones. So tonight, there was a couple of things that we saw happen that look like they could be the beginning of longer term stories. First off, the Final Testament and the New Day situation. I know that's been going on for a little while, but it hasn't really gone anywhere. It's been sort of in a holding pattern where it's Karrion Kross versus a member of the New Day, and whatever happens there, they end up in the same situation again. And so Karrion Kross did defeat Xavier Woods again last night, but I'm wondering if or where this thing is going. It started off with some potential. Maybe it's a New Day breakup or a New Day heel turn or a New Day repackage, but we've been circling the airport for a very long time. It's time to move this thing forward. I want to see it go somewhere, and I'm hoping that this story can kind of really pick up after SummerSlam. We can go somewhere with it. We can get some payoff out of it. Because right now, it just feels like Karrion Kross versus Xavier Woods is happening every week, with them trading victories back and forth. And honestly, that's a little boring. Tell me your thoughts on that one, though. What do you hope to see happen? Personally, I would love to see this result in an Xavier Woods Kofi Kingston feud, and then maybe they get back together at the end of it. Who knows? But again, you know my opinions if you've been following this channel for a while. I'm out on the New Day. I'm ready for them to move on. It's the old days at this point. Let's repackage these guys. Let's move them forward. Do something different with them, and I think this feud has the potential to do that. I just need to see something actually happen. All right, speaking of stories that are just starting or sort of continuing, we did get the return of Damage Control tonight, and they attacked Sonya Deville's group. There's a lot of questions here, right? Both of these factions are kind of heel factions, but Deville's group did attack Damage Control. Now Damage Control is back attacking Deville's group. Is this a face turn for Damage Control? It could be very interesting. There aren't a lot of face factions that really work oftentimes. That's more of a heel thing because of heel tactics and numbers, outside interference, that kind of stuff. So to me, factions always benefit heels a little more. Now, that said, there are plenty of face factions that have worked so long as you have good stories to tell with them. So it does look like we're seeing maybe the beginnings of a female faction wars that could be the beginning of our Survivor Series story if there's going to be a women's War Games match. Maybe it's Sonya's group versus Damage Control. Maybe they're getting bigger. They'll add some numbers to it. We could see the return of Asuka. Something like that could happen to make it 4-on-4. Personally, I would love to see Kiana James join Sonya Deville's group. She's done nothing since coming up to Monday Night Raw. Obviously, Natalya resigned. I think Natalya would be a good fit if she did a heel turn into Sonya Deville's group. Either of those women could be good adds, and then we'll see, does somebody else get added to Damage Control to balance it out? I think that could be a great War Games match if they tell a really good story. Tell me your thoughts, though, on Damage Control. Is this a face turn, or is this just two groups that don't like each other fighting? Let me know your thoughts in the comments and where you think it could go. All right, last thing to talk about, big one for me, is the Wyatt 6. And there's a lot to talk about with the Wyatt 6. First of all, we saw them last night unmasked, get in the ring, and throw down with Chad Gable and the Creeds. A couple of thoughts here. One is I'm glad to know that they're not going to be wrestling with the masks on. They're these big, bulky masks that are great for their vignettes. They're great for their entrance. They're even great for their spooky standing on the side of the ring, intimidating people moments. But when it comes down to wrestling, it makes sense for them to take the masks off. One of the big questions around the Wyatt 6 has been, what happens when the bell rings? I think they began to answer that question last night, and they answered it in a very positive way. I loved seeing the kind of tag team move set between Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis. I love seeing the Eric Rowan big crossbody taking out both of the Creed brothers at the same time. These guys can all go in the ring. There's no doubt about that. They just haven't been booked well. And so now seeing these guys, like, one, take the masks off, reveal, hey, we're actual people under this mask. We're not some supernatural, inhuman thing. They are regular people that are going to wrestle regular matches. I love that. I think it's what's needed for this thing to be successful. I'm hoping that the Wyatt 6 is way more closely related to the original Wyatt family than it is to the Fiend storyline. I think that makes a ton of sense. It's plausible in the real world. It doesn't rely on supernatural gimmicks or superpowers. And I think that is what wrestling fans are hoping to see. Dexter looked incredible. The dreads, the makeup, the X on his forehead, the excitement when after they landed that powerbomb move, he jumped up and was excited about it. We've not seen that from Dexter Lumis. We've only seen him be very stoic in the ring. And I love seeing more of his personality come out. Then again, we got the VHS tape of Dexter as well. All the Uncle Howdy questions, all the Uncle Howdy statements, but then it ended with Uncle Howdy asking Dexter to tell the people what they should do when they see the buzzards swarming. And Dexter screams, "Run." So my question is he going to talk more, or is this similar to his previous character in which, he said something at one point, but still didn't talk very much beyond that? A lot of questions still to ask, but I will say this. As much as I love the Wyatt 6, as much as I love the storyline with Chad Gable, we missed out on the real breakdown of the Alpha Academy. We missed out on the potential red-hot feud between Otis and Chad Gable. We missed out on what could have been an amazing rivalry between the old Alpha Academy and Gable's new Alpha Academy with the Creed brothers. That could have been a story in and of itself without the Wyatt 6. Bringing the Wyatt 6 into that story really kind of cost us what it could have been. And I'm not complaining because, again, I love the Wyatt 6. I just wish we could have got more of that Alpha Academy story, more of that Otis and Chad Gable rivalry, more of the two factions sort of going at it before the Wyatt 6 came into it. All of that said, we are getting a 3-on-3 match next week with Chad and the Creed brothers taking on Rowan, Gacy, and Dexter Lumis. I'm stoked for this match. I cannot wait to see these guys in the ring. I can't wait to see the Wyatt 6 actually wrestle a match, because I think that these guys have been so underrated for so long, and if they give this match the appropriate amount of time, it's going to answer a lot of questions that we've been asking. What happens when the bell rings? I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised. That said, why is this not on SummerSlam? Why? It's right there. It would have been great to have it on SummerSlam. They could have given it more time. I know SummerSlam already has 7 matches. We've been getting 5-match PLEs. SummerSlam is one of the big 2 shows every year. It's right below WrestleMania. It's a big 4, but it should be the number 2, which means it should be a little longer. It should have more matches, and it should have more high-profile things. I really wish we got Alpha Academy versus Wyatt 6 at SummerSlam. I think it would have been awesome. That said, I'm going to keep a positive attitude. I'm excited about seeing them in the ring next week. We'll have to wait 2 extra days, and maybe they'll get a little more time than trying to cram it onto the SummerSlam card. Tell me your thoughts on all of it, your thoughts on the Wyatt 6, and do you think that this match should have been at SummerSlam? Overall, for me, it was good. It was a really good show overall. For a go-home show, it did the things we needed it to do. It poured a little bit more gasoline on some of the feuds. It actually sowed some seeds of some stories that we'll see begin beyond SummerSlam. It gave us another opportunity to see Damian Priest and Gunther in the ring kind of brawling. We got an attack by Braun Breaker on Sami Zayn, which left Sami Zayn standing tall, which to me signals that Braun's going to win at SummerSlam. But again, I'll get my official predictions later in the week. It did the things that checked the boxes. But for me personally, it didn't go above and beyond in anything. So for me, I'm going to give this one probably a 7, maybe 7.5. I've heard so many different ratings from so many different people. The internet was very divided on the show. Some people thought it was garbage, and then I saw somebody rated it a 9 out of 10. For me, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So 7.5 is what we'll land with for Raw this week. And I'm looking forward to post SummerSlam to see where we go, what new stories begin to develop, what stories begin to kind of wind down, and where we go from there. Tell me your thoughts, though. How would you rate this show in the comments below? Would love to know where it landed for you. Did it do all the things you needed it to do, or was it just another Monday that came and went? Well, hey, that is it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me for a bit here on Rumble Rewind. As always, really enjoy hanging out. Hope that you did as well. If so, go ahead and leave a like on the video. Let me know that you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and turn on those post notifications so that you never miss an upload. While you're down there, leave a comment. Tell me what was this highlight for you and what you'd like to talk about in the WWE. And like I said, later this week, we will have our official SummerSlam predictions video for you. And right here tomorrow, we will have our NXT recap and thoughts on that. So if you don't want to miss those, make sure those post notifications are turned on. Again, thanks so much for hanging out with me for a bit today on Rumble Rewind. We'll see you on the next one.